that's really the way we recruit, because it's easier for us to coach players that we've brought in. It's pretty painful, isn't it?
For you guys.
It's not terrible.
Well, it's still painful for me.
You want to have a voice like that. You're jealous.
Yeah, I do. I'm jealous.
See, there you go. I knew it.
So if I'm coaching linebackers 2 years from now, I want to be able to say I brought this guy in here for this reason. I might be wrong, but that's why I brought him in here. Versus somebody bringing a guy in and saying we need this guy, and 2 years from now he's saying I didn't want that guy anymore. So that philosophy hasn't changed.
So you come in as sort of a tiebreaker on certain guys?
Which is rare.
Okay.
Very rare.
But you give, has that, and that's evolved, it sounds like. If I remember what you told me about Casey, there might have been guys when they first came on staff, you were a little bit more involved? Or has that just, as your staff's gotten more veteran? I don't know. Just the moral history there.
We're pretty veteran for the most part.
Yeah, I know.
And once guys kind of establish themselves, I don't really get involved in it much. I can look at certain players and have a pretty good idea that they're going to be a good college player like y'all can. And then there's the majority of the kids who are tweeners. There's only so many guys that walk out of high school and into college and we know they're going to be great players. 70% of them are tweeners. We don't know. We miss on them all the time. Like Corn Dog, he's a good player. We should have recruited him, but we didn't know. The guy that won the Heisman this year didn't get recruited. So they have to be able to buy into who they're recruiting. Joe Bob Clements has to say, I'm willing to take a guy that's 6'5", 210 pounds because I know he'll be 260. Not somebody come to him and tell him that. And that's just what we're more comfortable with in our place.
What has made your program so successful of seeing those guys and the potential that they have? A James Washington, a Blackman, a Marcus Keys, the guys that people don't consider highly recruited, but you guys turn into all Big 12 or national award winners.
Casey Dunn has been exceptional and somewhat through the roof in finding players who are essentially non-recruited and have evolved to good enough to be in NFL camps. Whether you make it in the NFL or not, if you get an NFL camp, you're a pretty player. And then, like Marcus Keys, if you remember, we took him the day of signing day because we missed out on some other kids, and we took him. We had him sitting there, and we took him, and he ended up being a good player for us. That's kind of the laughable part about recruiting. We took 3 or 4 kids that year. 2 of them aren't playing, and we took him at the last second. He's essentially 4 years old. So we don't budge much from what we believe in. And I said this earlier when I was talking to Rick Neuheisel, that there's a lot of players out there that are good enough to play at a Power 5 conference school that don't have any interest in Oklahoma State. And then there's some players out there that are good enough to play at any Power 5 conference school that we don't have any interest in. It's just based on whether we think they'll fit into our culture and can fit into our system. And can they live in Stillwater? Can they be at Oklahoma State University and be successful? Because if they can, it won't do me any good or them any good to be at Oklahoma State. I don't care how good they are. So that's the process of recruiting that we go through. And we somewhat built a system that we buy into that, and we have to live with it, because if you fluctuate too much and you guess, then you can put yourself in a very difficult position, which we have been. 6 or 8 years ago, we were in a very difficult position in certain positions. We got out of our box and tried to do things we couldn't do, and almost didn't recover from it.
Kids are going to be able to live in this. Like a guy like Taylor. Bushland, he can do it. But how do you know that about, say, a guy from San Antonio, Houston?
The 2 most difficult things for me in recruiting is, one is how important is football to them? Because high school football, even though it's very competitive, you can still not like it as much as you think you do and be good if you're athletic. And then the second thing is being able to adapt to our society and our culture. because it's it's 40,000 people, and it's a somewhat a controlled environment. And if there's a young man that's looking for something different, and we get a feel through the communication of the high school coaches, the teachers, the counselors, the people that know them. We have the luxury nowadays of watching social media. We can get a feel at times. It's not foolproof, but we can get a feel. And try to do the best we can to evaluate them and say, okay, we think you'll fit in here.
Use the same methods for hiring assistant coaches, or a little more flexibility?
Somewhat, a little different, based on we have a good product to sell now. There's a lot of stability in our place. I'm probably the easiest guy in the country to work for. We take more vacation time than anybody. So there's things that entice people to want to be there. We now pay pretty good. So a little bit different, but it's still not easy. Sometimes you may get a coach and or a coach's wife that says, I'm not living in school. I got to be able to go to the mall. I don't want to drive an hour to go to the mall. Can't coach in still. There's not going to be a mall going up anytime soon.
Yeah. How does it make you feel when Jim Knowles says, I'm happy to be at a football school? How did that make you feel?
His recruitment for employment was probably the most interesting out of all of them. Just based on an Ivy League grad, very intelligent. When you guys start talking to him and get to know him, well, y'all are a lot smarter than me. He'll say give you words, and I don't know what it means. Speaks at a very high level of intelligence, and was at a great place. Very comfortable, very humble. The money's not a big deal to him, but he wanted to be at Oklahoma State. Really wanted to be at Oklahoma State. So I joked with him and asked if he had looked at the statistics offensively in our league over the last 6 years, because I know he's a numbers guy, and he said, sure, yeah, I have. I said, okay, I just want to make sure that you weren't getting us confused with another conference. But he really wanted to be at Oklahoma State.
Coach, when it does come to recruiting, you guys don't load up on the 5 stars and the high 4 stars, but you guys have a great way of identifying talent and then developing that talent in the program. What's been the key for you as far as finding the talent, having the eye for it, and then develop them once they get in your program?
Well, I was mentioning earlier that each position coach has to find those guys. In most cases, if there's a 5-star player that's within a regional area of Oklahoma State, for the 18 class, what is this, 18? So it'd be for the 19 class and the 20 class, he's already been offered by us. Have we been able to secure them? Not many. But most of them have been offered by us. So we have to take a business approach in the fact that at the end of the recruiting season, if we're signing 23, we got to have at least 20. We can keep a couple and pick up a transfer or something, but we can't sign 12 kids. So we have to do a good job of a pecking order, and then we have to have reasons why. So if you hit a home run in a certain area, then you can be a little more risky in that same area. If you're struggling in another position, you may not be as risky in who you're recruiting here, because you better start filling some slots. And then it's just a give and take. If I give a little bit of skill and talent, do I take it on heart? If I give a little size, do I take it on whatever else they can bring to the table? There's a pretty complex formula, and I've got to put it all together that we get. Like Jenny's asked me a year ago about Casey Dunn. He gets, I think it's either 11 or 12 scholarships. Well, he has to place those 11 or 12 guys where he thinks it's going to help best us score points and move the ball. And then if we lose one, he's got to fill somebody else in that spot that fits what we're doing at that particular spot, not just the big picture. And I think that's where we, in my opinion, do a pretty good job. We're not going to just take a bunch of guys, the best guys on the board. We're going to take the guys we think fit our place so we can slot them in.
And how do you guys develop them to be, these standouts?
Rob Glass has been fantastic in strength and conditioning. I mean, he's the best in the country, period. And I'd like to take the credit for it, but Rob gets him 12 months out of the year, and he's fantastic.
Mike, you were on the mega cast for the national championship game. What did you make of Alabama's decision to pull a guy who had led his team to the national championship the year before, and then gotten him back there for a true freshman on that kind of
good
stage.
for him. I don't know what all's going on behind the scenes. I don't know what went on at halftime. I don't know what went on the headphones during the game. So it's really hard to say. But I would say that room in there, when we weren't on television, we were surprised as a group. Everybody was like, would you do that? I don't know if I did. Would you do it? I don't know. In the offensive line, that was scary.
Mike, you expanded the analysts this offseason. You got the video board going. Is there anything else on your wish list for the program?
The video board, I was up at the office the other day. It looks awesome. I don't know if they plugged it in yet. It looks good. It'd be interesting to put one of those things you do blood pressure with on holder when they plug that in and watch that electric meter start spinning.
It's like the Christmas vacation scene.
Yeah, that's right, like Christmas vacation. And we're putting all new carpet in our building now, and you guys probably haven't been upstairs in our entry. We're putting a new entry downstairs. It's all new. Putting on our level, we have a new trophy area and award area, and we have new video boards in there, which is like a museum. You have a kiosk, you push a button, like you can type in James Washington, and all the boards come up, tell us history, everything about him. Pretty cool. Putting in a new players' lounge game room that should be done in a couple months. We got banners in the indoor. That's something that I wanted. We've got a lot of things moving. Some of it I probably forgot to tell you just now, but there's a lot going on, and for all the right reasons. It's an arms race. Got to keep up with everything and everybody else and what they're doing.
What's the desire to include a public forum for the fans to celebrate past players, whether it be statues, Ring of Honor, something like that, to recognize Barry Sanders, who's 30 years ago?
It's in the works right now. I don't think it'll be much longer, and we'll have a statue of Barry up. I can't give you a date on that. I don't play much of a role in that, other than that I thought we needed it. We're going to do a better job of recognizing former players. For Ring of Honor's our stadium's perfect for a Ring of Honor, that level there, something like that. We have a lot of things like that moving in the right direction as we speak.
What is the importance of that to you?
Oh, I just think there's been a lot of players at Oklahoma State that have been very, very successful that we know because we've been around it for 10, 15, 20 years. But the young men we're recruiting don't have a clue. They only know who's played the last couple of years. That's why it's important.
Mike, to get all that stuff done, you got to be on the same page with Michael. What's your relationship? I appreciate it.
Well, that's why we're getting it all done. We've got more things moving forward now than we have in the 14 years I've been the head coach. So much of it that they called me in out on my vacation to have a meeting to go over it all with me to make sure it was all okay. So I didn't mind doing that because it was for a good cause. Otherwise, I'd rather stay on my tractor. But we have a lot of things going on.
Even now, walking to work and seeing all the facilities you guys have, do you think about the old days, the old Lewis
every
field?
day? I've not been so far out of touch with reality to realize that. You can say what you want, but to ever think that we would have what we have, based on the original $168 million cash donation that Mr. Pickens made, or give or take, I might have missed whatever, but I was close. A lot of people do those donations and they'll do it over a 30-year period. It's kind of hard to build that way. Put that much money up front, you can build and get what we have now. I was walking outside a couple weeks ago with the stadium and had some people come and visit me that were in school when I was in school, and they had brought the same thing up you did and asked the same question. And I said, no, I never would have thought it would ever look like this.
He said he wishes